Oh, hi guys, welcome Danny here from the Magic Junk Drawer. So today we're going to discuss the different kinds of relationships. There's karmic, soulmates, and the twin flame. I get this question so often. Where am I going to find my soulmate? Who's my soulmate? Is he my soulmate? Is she my soulmate? First of all, there are three different types of relationships. So let's start with that. First one being the karmic relationship. So the karmic relationship, and I don't know why this comes to mind. I had a friend that I grew up with that for some reason it just reminds me of her, so I'm going to tell you this story. Growing up, until we got into high school, we were like the best of friends. And then at some point, it was almost like she did everything that she could to outdo me. Like if she knew that I was into a guy, she had to be sitting on his lap, or she had to be flirting with him. If she knew that I liked whatever guy it was, she had to invite him over. I mean, I was dating this one guy, and I found out that he was at her house. Anyway, I kept forgiving her. I kept forgiving her. I kept forgiving her. I kept forgiving her until it got to the point where it was like, okay, I forgive you, and it wasn't even so much I don't want to be your friend anymore. It's just I didn't have the connection to her anymore. It was like, whatever, you know, because it's like this just kept happening. No matter how many times I expressed to her, please stop doing this to me. Why are you trying to hurt me? Why are you doing this? She still kept doing it. And then eventually we stopped being friends. We went in our different directions. That was the karmic path it took. It was brought into my life for that karmic reason. I don't deal very well with betrayal these days. Now, I mean, it has to be somebody that I really trust. So if it's somebody that I really trust and they do something, now I don't give them the chances that I gave her, because I am not as close to as many people now. You know, back then I was much more naive. And now, I start to see things a little bit differently because I'm older. So karmic would be the relationship the cheerleader that always has to have the football player boyfriend. She doesn't really like him. She actually can't even stand him. But they're together because it fulfills their ego's need. He can't stand her. He thinks she's a bitch. But they're together because it fulfills their ego's need, and it puts the face out into society that look at who I am. I'm the head of the cheerleading whatever, and he's the football player. So this fulfills their ego need. It has nothing to do with love. It's, when somebody who can't be alone, they always have to have a boyfriend, or they always have to have a girlfriend. They can't be alone for 5 minutes. That's an ego need. It has nothing to do with love. This person is coming in and filling a void that your ego feels. It's not a soul connection. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. If you want to feed your ego and you want, then that's your thing. I have never been the kind of person that would just date anyone. And my mom and I would argue all the time when I was younger. A guy would ask me out and I would have no interest in him. And she would be like, Dan, you don't have to marry him. You just have to have dinner with him. And I would be like, yeah, but I would rather spend time with my dog. But that's the thing. I connect on a soul level, not on the ego level. And let me tell you something. I'm not saying I don't have an ego and that I don't get hurt, and that's not what I mean. But some people have soul relationships, and soul relationships only. And they don't have a lot of them, but they last a long time, and it's usually a saga and a drama. And other people have a lot of relationships, but they don't really, they're not hurt when they end because they never really cared in the first place. I had a friend of mine who was dating this girl, and they broke up, and he asked me to come over, and we were talking about it, and he told me what went on, and I was like, well, so what was it that you liked about her? And he was like, well, nothing. And I'm like, well, then it's your ego that's hurt. You're not hurt. You didn't like her. You didn't really want to be with her. You have not said one nice thing to me about this girl. So what is it? And then he was like, you know what? You're right. And then that was it. Like, he forgot about her. Where the soulmate relationships are much more painful. So a karmic relationship would be, you know, you don't care who the person is. Like a girl that wants to be taken care of by a man. So she goes out and she finds a guy who is, maybe has a lot of money. She doesn't care who he is. He just does have a lot of money. Okay, that's fine. There's nothing wrong if that's what you want out of life. I would never say that there's anything wrong with what anybody chooses. But it's not always a soul connection. It's more of like, this is what I want. And when you want something, it's usually ego-based, which would be more karmic than soul. Okay, so then what's the soulmate relationship? Everyone wants to find their soulmate. Well, let me tell you something. It is never easy. Soulmate relationships are always very difficult. The soulmates, first of all, they always have a breakup, and it's always usually a long breakup. It's devastating. And one person, even though they're involved in this soulmate relationship, is usually damn near impossible. Where, you know, you can't even be any clearer with your desire or what you don't want or whatever, and they still can't get it right, no matter how hard it's very painful, and there are definitely a lot of breaks. The twin flame is the other half of your soul. They say that it's when the soul at the beginning of time or whatever was broken in two, and this person is literally your other half. So when you meet this person, you feel like you can't live without them. You don't know what you would do if they died. You need to be around them all the time, or you need to at least be in contact with them all the time. And you feel like you have that telepathic feel, like you have that, you can communicate without having to say anything. Soulmate connections are like that too. Twin flames are sort of like a combination of karmic and soulmate. Now, soulmates, we have a million of them. Soulmates come into your life. Like, to me, all of my dogs have been soulmates. I am so connected to all of my dogs that I've had in my life that I can still, when I think about my dogs that have passed, I could still right now cry over them. It's because that's how much I love them. I know people that get rid of their animals like they get rid of an old couch. My heart wants to explode when I hear stories like that. I am so devastated by it. So, you know, what's right and what's wrong? There is no right or wrong. I'm not right because I connect more with my dogs than the next person does, but it's that much more painful for me when I lose them. Where these other people may not, you know, they're like, oh, well, it's a dog. All right, I'll get another one. No big deal. Where I don't feel like that. So it's more intense, but it's more intense in every way. Now, here's a good story. I have a good friend of mine that I met when we were 16. We were in high school. We're still friends today. Soulmates. So we're in high school and we're driving down this road, and she points to a house on this street that we were on, and she says, oh, before my parents bought the house we live in now, they looked at this house. They were going to buy this house. And I laughed, and I said, oh, that's really funny, because before my parents bought the house that we live in, my parents were going to buy that house, which was the house right next door. So it just goes to show you that your soulmate relationships, they will always come into your life. You don't have to go looking for them. They're going to come into your life. So if my parents had bought that house on that road, she would have moved in to the house next door at 16. My parents didn't buy that house. They bought a house in another area, not far from that street. And her parents bought a house in that area. So it was destined for her and I to be friends. And it doesn't make, you know what I mean? Like, so it didn't happen in this location, but it happened here. And that's what I always say to people. If you don't have to sit in a bar every night to meet your soulmate, because you could meet him pumping gas at the gas station. You can meet him buying shoes in the mall. I mean, it doesn't always have to be like you went looking. Most of the times it's when you're not looking that something shows up. So we have so many soulmates. It's impossible to to say exactly which one you're going to be with or who you're going to be with. Somebody once said to me, and I never realized it until she said this. I was having a reading with somebody years ago, and she said to me, your relationships have all been soulmate relationships. That's why they're so painful, and that's why they're so intense. They're not like, oh, well, I just went out with Bob on Tuesday, and I just went out with Sam on Wednesday, and while I was seeing Larry for a while. Like, it's not like that with me. Now, it's not, neither one is right or wrong. I mean, I actually think that it's easier the other way, and there's more opportunity the other way. But, so your soulmate, you're going to know him when you meet him, and you're going to feel a connection. Soulmate relationships and twin flames, it's almost like you know this person, you feel like you've been with this person before, it's very comfortable, you could be yourself around them, you don't have to worry about anything. You can almost finish each other's sentences. So it's intense. But you have to think about it. Like if you're with somebody right now and he's just like the flavor of the day because there's no one else, that's cool. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. But that may be more of a karmic relationship than so much of a soulmate relationship. But there's just the differences between the different relationships from what I've learned over the years. All right, if you like what we're doing here, don't forget to subscribe and share us with your friends, and we will see you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.